So I'm saying whether your child grows up to be great, studious, confident, and proud adults, or the opposite, you played a major role in it. And if your child grows up to be a negative person or a person you full of hatred and envy and a person who is not hardworking or whatever, you got to look at yourself and think, what did you do or what could have you have done better? What's going on, YouTube? I'm making this video today to talk about the subject of this video would be something along the lines of this generation is lost and the parents are responsible. Now, this video is basically me saying that parents need to take responsibility in their child's failures in life. Like, as a parents, I feel like a lot of parents these days, with a lot of parents that I hear, a lot of people that I hear be like, man, this generation is this and this generation is that. They wow, they crazy. They don't listen. They don't do whatever. The same thing your parents said about, you when you was a child talking to adults. And it's like, at what point do the adults take responsibility for raising these children? It's like when parents say these children spend too much time on their phones, that they spend too much time on this technology. They just don't go outside like they used to. But who is buying these kids these phones? Who is allowing these kids to stay in the house all day? Who is doing this? It's like, it's crazy to think for parents to think that they're not responsible for how their children came. I heard people say, um, I don't know why he act like that. I didn't raise him like that or raise her like that. But yes, you did. You might not know you raised him to be the way he is or she the way she is. But if you were the primary caretaker and you raised them, if you raised your children, they live with you every day for the most part. If you raise them and they turn out some way, why do you not think you're not responsible? Like, I heard this one video of this lady talking about basically telling parents it's not your fault for what your children do or don't do. It's like, yes, it is. It's like, okay, it's not 100% your fault. But if your child, let's say your child grows up, you say you have a son and he grows up lazy. He doesn't want to work. He doesn't want to get a job. Or, he doesn't want to do things for himself. This that's like 50 to 75% your fault. It's like as a baby, you're born a blank slate. You know what I'm saying? Can't walk. You don't even have mannerisms yet. You learn everything as everybody knows, you're a blank slate. And if this blank slate, you raised this blank slate from nothing. He or she learned mostly everything from you. How to you know what I'm saying? Whether you know it or not, how you deal with situations, how you deal with your anger, how you talk to people, how you express yourself, how you walk, talk. They even maybe have many of your mannerisms, your child. You know what I'm talking about? Even if you're have a mother and father in the house. It's like, what is wrong with you people to think that you're not mostly responsible? It's like, you raised me. You raised this child. If he's a certain way that you don't like, or he's lazy or something like that, maybe when he was a child, maybe you should have had him doing more work outside. Maybe you should have had him doing more growing up. I mean, I'm talking about like real young, 5, 6, 7, 8, doing chores. Have him working all the time. You want to be lazy when he grow up. Make him appreciate work. You tired of your child standing in the house on his phone all day playing video games? Don't go outside. Don't socialize. Take his phone away or her phone away. What's wrong with these? What's wrong with you guys? It's like, and I'm on my high horse now because I figured this stuff out when I was young. When I was younger, this always struck a chord with me. Like hearing my mom say, somebody say, "What? Why don't you do this or do that?" It's like for example, my mom would buy me video games growing up, like, and my dad did too. My mom would literally call me strange. She was like, "What's you weird? Why you don't ever go outside? Why you don't ever do this and do that?" It's like, "Bitch, why you don't ever leave your room?" It's like, cause like you bought me these games. Like it's like every time you bought me this game, you you don't tell you like you don't tell me to go outside. You just allow me to stay in my room and play games all day. As a child, you're gonna do that because it's been proven that video games pretty much can give you the same thing, the same feeling as not playing video games, like participating, playing outside. But the rewards aren't great. If you play out, because when you're playing video games, you play for a sense of adventure, companionship. You can play online, and you know it gets you mentally thinking and things like that. The thing is, it's a cheap substitute for real outside play. So if you give a child 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 an option to go outside to play games, he's a lot of times going to end up playing games. I think unless you raised him to go outside previously, if his first introduction to this world is playing on his phone video games, that's going to be his go-to. Are you insane to think that children like going outside just because it's in our DNA? Children like going outside because you allow them to go outside and they find fun and entertainment outside. Then they will want to keep going back to that. But if their first introduction was to fun and what it's called like that was watching TV and playing video games, they're going to do this shit all day. It's like, you parents are so immature and irresponsible nowadays. It's like, to say what's wrong with this generation, these kids. They so violent or whatever. It's like you raising them. It's like it's your fault. And I don't care if nobody's saying try to make parents feel good about don't take responsibility for what your kids did. Yes, you should absolutely take responsibility because a lot of it is your fault. Baby don't know anything when he's grown up. When he's born, everything he learned from the world around him. Now, maybe you thought that you didn't raise your children the way you did, that was in your attention. But at the end of the day, if he's 16 or she's 16, and she's twerking online or he's in a gang or something like that, that's on you. It's like maybe you should have kept him in the house more. Maybe you should have goddamn schooled him or some shit like that. If your child grows up to not be accomplished, to not enjoy knowledge. If your child grows up and he doesn't appreciate knowledge and learning and things like that, it's your fault because you should have instilled how important knowledge and learning is when he was young. The problem is parents want to raise successful children, but they don't know they're not successful themselves. They don't know how to be successful. Therefore, they instill in they children don't know how to be successful either. You raise it or lose a child because you a loser, and that's real. I'm not even here to say what successful is. Successful is just completing a goal. But in terms of making money in American society, what we deem successful, or, that's on you. People need to admit, if you raise a child as a baby, and you and maybe your partner raise this child together, you gotta take some responsibility in the way this child is. It may not be all your fault. If you're a single parent, maybe mostly your fault. But if a co-parent, partnership, both parents are together, that's your whole responsibility for this child. You're giving this child a blank slate, no ideas, thoughts, or anything as a baby, and you raise this child this whole life, and when it becomes a teenager or grown, you wanna look and say, I don't know what's wrong. How did you turn out like this? How did you become this? Like, what's wrong with you? I didn't raise you like this, or you know better, or some shit like that. Obviously, you don't know better because you wouldn't have did it. You parents need to take responsibility. You guys, nothing I don't like, nothing that makes me mad more than somebody who cannot accept their faults, their responsibility in something that happened. You gonna blame the child for the way by the way they were. You gonna blame your child for how they became when you raised them? Really? You gonna blame your child? This shows how mature you parents are. And I like to use the example, like, for example, you don't get like Kevin Hart. You don't get a Kevin Hart without his mom. If you read his book and you know about Kevin Hart, he was raised by a parent, his mom, and she instilled in him what he uses today. She instilled his sense of work ethic, and you know what I'm saying, his work ethic and his you know what I'm saying, the way he is. Though he did have some different caregivers growing up. One lady in particular, she was very instrumental in raising him. I mean, in helping him grow too. But I'm saying his mom was the base. If Kevin Hart's mom wasn't the way she was and didn't raise him the way she raised him, he wouldn't be Kevin Hart. Now, just because you got a son or daughter that ain't doing shit, you want to say you didn't have nothing to do with it. No, you had something to do with it. And you're most likely the main cause. You wouldn't have Tupac without Afeni Shakur. Afeni instilled in him the thing to speak his mind. She instilled speaking his mind. She instilled his respect for women and appreciation of women. She and you know, the people around him. And they were instrumental in shaping him too, but that's because she allowed them to be around him. She recognized character in these people and allowed them to help educate her son. So it always comes back to the parents, to the people that's raising you. They don't gotta be your parents, but the people that's raising you. Because if a person is in charge of you, they're in charge of who is around you for the most part. They're in charge of the people, you know what I'm saying, it's into your sphere of reality. So what I'm saying is, back to what I'm saying, like there's no Tupac without a Afeni. Tupac is great because his mom was great and the people around him was great. Kevin Hart became the way he became because who he was around. I'm just saying, and it's not that if you had awful parents, you can't grow up to be amazing, but it's very unlikely, like very, very, very unlikely. If you have people raise you to that's you know what I'm saying. It's a couple ways things can play out. You can be a parent who wants to who is a lazy person, and the child grows up and detests that and becomes a hardworking person. You can be a hardworking parent and instill hardworkingness into your children, or you can be a parent that just hopes, just thinks that your child is gonna grow up to be amazing just because. You don't read to your child. You don't. You won't read to your child, and you don't instill how important it is to read and learn. But then when your child grows up to not enjoy reading and not very uh, insightful and don't have a lot of like you know what I'm saying, knowledge that you would like him to have, you might say, you stupid, what's wrong with you? Why you don't like reading? Bitch, cause you didn't teach me to like reading. You didn't read when you was raising me. It's like you might bring different men to the house when your child is young and argue and fight and argue with these children, or you know what I'm saying. You might get an attitude with your child every time he says or she says something you don't like. Then they grow up and have an attitude. What's wrong with you? I didn't raise you like that. I'm mostly going like on the women because I know it's a lot of single women. I don't know many men, you know, who raise their children. Not many. I know some. I mean, my dad was in my life, and they're responsible for who I become. I started thinking about this because I grew up to be, I was a very weak person growing up. I didn't speak my mind. It's just a lot of the everything you wouldn't want your child to be. I was pretty much it. Stayed in the room all day playing games, video games. Because of that, my body didn't develop like it was supposed to. Personality didn't develop. Was very antisocial because I wasn't around other kids growing up. Like I became a very strange, weird person that you wouldn't want to be. And it's not because of me. It's not because of me. You could say I'm putting it on my parents because I am. As a child, you don't know anything but what you're taught. I was instead of, if my parents would have decided, they could have decided, you know what, I want you to learn how to communicate and talk to people growing up. I want you to be, you know, at least adamant in talking to people. They could have said, you know what, you ain't playing this video game. You going outside and you gonna play with these kids. I couldn't say no, so I would do it. And eventually I grow up and have communication skills because my parents instilled that in me. You irresponsible people. Some people should have kids. I swear, because y'all folks don't know what y'all doing. It's mainly your fault. If your child grows up to not be shit, or a character trait that you don't like, or he's not the person He's not like a man or a woman or somebody you would admire. I'm just saying you got to take responsibility in your fault and your part in its horribleness or her horribleness. As a parent, you need to take responsibility for your part in messing and being raising a an awful human being, awful person, or a person that is just not, great. Can't might be a person, a man or a woman or both, who raise a child, to be a coward. Let's say your child is getting bullied and you teach him to ignore him or don't teach him anything, and he deals with it his own way. He grow up and be afraid to speak his mind. If you have a child and you don't allow him to talk or express his opinions, you know, every time he try to tell you what he think, you shut him down. Don't let him speak his mind. Then when he grows up and he has characteristics of somebody that don't speak their mind, you wanna be like, you need to be more like him or like them or whatever. But you didn't raise him to be like them. It's like, it's common sense. What the fuck is wrong with this world to where parents think they're not responsible for how they largely responsible for how the children became? It's like, you might have not known that you was doing bad by your child that wasn't raising them properly, but you probably was if he turned out not like, or she turned out in a certain way. So I'm saying, whether your child grows up to be great, studious, confident, and proud adults, or the opposite, you played a major role in it. And if your child grows up to be a negative person, or a person you full of hatred and envy, and a person who is not hardworking or whatever, you got to look at yourself and think, what did you do, or what could have you have done better? That's absolutely your fault, a large part. You need to look at yourself. Maybe you're not as great as you thought you was. I'm just saying. I'm saying what it is. You don't gotta like it. But parents, this generation is lost, and you led them astray. You lost them. You did. You might not have known. You did it unknowingly. No parent wants to intentionally harm their child most of the time. Most normal, parents want to do the best for their child. I'm just saying, just because you want to do the best don't mean you are doing the best. Just because you got a baby don't mean you know how to raise a child. Just because you think you know how to raise a child don't mean you raise a child. Just because you think you know what you're doing don't mean you know what you're doing. This generation is lost, and the parents are responsible. And if then my generation has children and those children are lost, we're held responsible. You know what I'm saying? We're held responsible, and it's just a cycle. If you don't know what you're doing and you don't attempt to learn how to be a better parent, then you have children, they grow up to be just like you, and the cycle continues. And as a parent, I feel like you're responsible, whether you're ignorant. Like if you get pulled over by the police and you speeding or something, you didn't know a law, they will say ignorance is no excuse. You still go to jail. And once you have a parent, ignorance is no excuse. Just because you raising your child and you harming your child, I have no sympathy for you, even if you didn't know what you was doing, because it's no ignorance is ignorance is no excuse. It's no excuse. You better start reading self-help books. You better start learning and paying attention. And knowledge is. People think that you don't got to read a book to know how to be a parent. Yes, you do. It's certain things that help you. Certain things. Maybe you can. I'm just saying. I'm not saying you need to read a book to learn how to be a parent. I'm saying it'll help, because you might not know what you're doing. You might was raised to beat your child, not knowing that and other people testimonies that other people have wrote down and on online articles or something, they found out that it's not the best way, or scientifically proven that's not helping. You might be feeding your child milk bought from the store, not knowing that breastfeeding your child is the best. Best, it's nature's it was where it was meant to be. The milk designed specifically for your children to help improve brain function and things like that. It's in you as a woman, but you want to go to the store because you buy milk with all kind of chemicals in it. I'm just saying, y'all need to take responsibility. How in the fuck do you think it's not a lot of your fault? How do you not take part in your destruction of, man, this generation? What is wrong with you? What is wrong with y'all? Y'all tripping, man. But I'm gone.